the Chi-Town experience on the flight. Let me go tune in to Keek on the mic. He gon' make sure we get our news and highlights. When you get on YouTube, you better hit the like.
Hey, what's going on, Bears fans? Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Keek on the Mic, the podcast all about the Chicago Bears. As always, if you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Bears fans, before we go any further with today's episode of Keek on the Mic, I want to give a huge shout out to the sponsor of today's video, and that is BetUS. As always, Bears fans, you guys can head over to betus.com and use promo code YouTube150 for a 150% deposit bonus up to $2,000, and also get 125% second and third deposits as well. As you guys can see, we have our special guest back in action. That's Isaiah Fry. How you doing, Isaiah?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I don't think Bears fans are going to be used to this because usually, you just come on during the season. But I was like, hey, let's switch things up. Let's get our guy Isaiah Fry back on the podcast. I know Bears fans always love your insight. Whether they don't like your take or not. I do know they like you on the show.
Yeah.
But once again, thank you so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
So obviously, a lot has changed since, the last game, against the Green Bay Packers, where the Bears finally beat the Green Bay Packers. So obviously, that was good for Caleb Williams. I know you texted me after that game. All you said was Caleb Williams, baby. Yeah. That's all you said to me. It was very short and sweet. It felt good to finally get over that hump. And then, obviously going into the offseason, the expectation was, to find an offensive mind. And, we've had a lot of talks about Ben Johnson and the Chicago Bears for the first time ever. Opened up their checkbook and threw $13 million at Ben Johnson to land the big fish during this coaching cycle. And they landed him. So what was your initial reaction to when you heard the news of Ben Johnson going to Chicago?
Great hire. They did what they were supposed to do. That was I think everybody's number one candidate aside from probably the Patriots. I think they knew who they wanted all along. But it was a good gift for them, man. I personally think Caleb had a really good year for a rookie, especially with all the distractions he had to go through and whatnot. But bringing Ben Johnson is going to take his game to even another level, which is great for him because after just watching the season of Caleb, man, I can't help but say, man, everybody should be excited about where he's going. I always like to test just random fans, not Bears fans, but I always like to test random fans. Like, hey, man, what do you think if Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams were to switch? Oh no, Jaden Daniels would be awesome in Chicago. He would have took them. Like, dude, okay? I just can tell you're not watching any games. So, but yeah, I'm excited for it, man.
What I really like about it so far, we've had so many conversations about all these coaches, not only about Caleb Williams, but the quarterbacks in the past. Like, hey, you have to play, and coach to your players' strengths. And that's something that, prior, in past Bears coaches have failed to do. Ben Johnson right away said, hey, whatever you saw in Detroit, we're throwing that away. We're going to start from the studs, and this is going to be built around Caleb Williams and the offense around them and their strengths. And I was like, man, that's just like a breath of fresh air. That's something that Bears fans are not used to hearing. And it's like just the confidence that he has. And one of the big question marks was, what kind of leadership, what kind of leader will Ben Johnson be? And I feel like right away, just him during the press conference and how he's talking to the players already, I feel like already he's showing great leadership.
Absolutely. You hit it right on the head, man. Being able to adapt as a coach is one of the biggest attributes a coach can have, especially in this day and age, man. The game's evolving every single year. There's something different. There's some new tweak every single year that coaches need to keep up on. I think, in my opinion, some of the greatest coaches in the history of the game are able to keep moving the game forward, man. And you get those coaches, unfortunately, that have an ego and don't open their mind, man. And that's the complete opposite of Ben Johnson. He knows what needs to get done to get Caleb to that level. And, even if it's not what he did in Detroit this year, man, he's going to figure it out and make it successful.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it really felt good that, he said right away, hey, this is where I wanted to be. It was Chicago all along, because Chicago is never anyone's first choice, right? It's like we usually get the rebounds, as much as I feel like Pete Carroll's a good coach, he was too old. As much as I think I would have been okay with Mike McCarthy, he wasn't my top choice. My top choice was Ben Johnson. And I know you heard all the Raider noise as well about him going to Las Vegas, but it felt good that it was Chicago all along in Chicago, but it feels like we won something, right? And people make jokes about the Bears saying, hey, you guys won the offseason again. Hey, we'll keep on winning the offseason because eventually it's going to translate to wins, on Sundays. Because I think that was some of the Bears' biggest weakness was, finding a good head coach. And obviously it still remains to be seen if Ben Johnson's going to pan out. But I feel very confident about Ben Johnson and the future of this organization. And what Ben Johnson's already been able to accomplish, the vision that he has for the Chicago Bears, the vision he has for Caleb Williams, and a part of him, meeting those expectations as a head coach, he's already bringing in a lot of guys on his coaching staff that have a lot of experience. So starting off with Dennis Allen as DC, Declan Doyle, he's a little younger at 28 as the offensive coordinator. To me, not really too concerned about the hire. He's not calling play, so it is what
internship.
It is.
That's an internship.
Right. He's a young mind, creative mind
right.
that could really help him with Caleb Williams in the offense. And of course, one of my favorite hires is Al Harris, getting him from the Dallas Cowboys. Obviously, JT Barrett as the quarterbacks coach, and I think I'm missing. And then be able to retain Richard Hightower as well as a special teams coordinator is huge.
Antoine Randall,
there we go. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, so to me, he's putting together a star-studded staff, but out of all the coaches, Isaiah, which one gets you the most excited?
Dennis Allen, by far. Dennis Allen is a really good defensive coordinator, man. I know he didn't pan out in New Orleans as a head coach, which, we kind of seen that here in Chicago, with Eberflus, which I actually think he'll be successful in this next role. He just got hired, I believe, right? I can't. Anyways, but Dennis Allen, he's fantastic. And I think the good thing about his situation, the way Ben Johnson went with it too, is he just got fired for being a head coach, so he's not going anywhere anywhere anytime soon. So you can get at least a good 3 to 4 years out of Dennis Allen before he starts to, there's always a cycle. They start doing good, and then they're like, Dennis Allen's a head coach again. So kind of like how Dan Quinn did it. So that was his best hire, man. That's gonna turn this team into a real contender quick.
And it's like he's coming into a situation where you already have a lot of studs on this defense, right? It's not like you're walking into a rebuilding defense. I think we know that this Bears defense can play at a top 10 level because at the first half of the season, they were playing at that top 10 level. So Dennis Allen should be excited. Those players should be excited. And you mentioned that, he won't get poached. And I don't think he will at all because, he's been fired twice. He's been there, done that. Maybe in 3-4 years, maybe. But I think people are going to be like, okay, he's a good coordinator, but we've been there, done that. So it may be like a Steve Spagnuolo situation, like how the Kansas City Chiefs, he continues to stay, and he's very successful there with Kansas City.
That's easy to do when you keep. That's easy to do when you keep winning Super Bowls.
That is true. Hopefully we can replicate that. I doubt it, but that was my favorite hire as well. But you are the defensive guy, Isaiah. So tell Bears fans what we can really expect from a guy like Dennis Allen.
Just exotic defenses, man. He's able to kind of gauge on what the offense is trying to do. He takes away what they do well. That's what he does best. His mastermind and being able to bring some blitzes and understanding, basically tendencies as the offense goes. I think that was a slam dunk hire. Him and Al Harris. Goodness gracious, that Al Harris should be a defensive coordinator. He's going to get poached. He'll only be here for a year or two, unfortunately. But dude's fantastic as a player and a coach. So those two together, man, and then bringing in Randall as an assistant head coach, which I personally think at some point I think he'll be a head coach.
Yes,
Ben Johnson's doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, and this is gonna make you really happy. They said that your boy Kyler Gordon's probably gonna eat in Dennis Allen's defense because they said he likes to send that corner blitz often. So and you know how he's Kyler Gordon has already proved that he can be effective on corner blitzes. So I think this benefits everyone on the defense, but especially guys like Kyler Gordon. I'm pumped up, man. Right? Obviously, they still got to prove it on Sundays. But I love what Ben Johnson's doing so far. So Isaiah, let's go ahead and have some fun today on this podcast, and let's go ahead and put our GM hats on. We're going to kind of do like a mini mock offseason. Nothing big, but we're going to kind of, focus on free agency and the draft and all that good stuff. Ben Johnson's agent kind of made headlines today. He went on 670 to score and basically suggested that the Bears won't be married to their current roster and that Johnson will have a key voice, which is that's how it should be. Him and Ryan Poles need to be aligned, but I think it's very important for Ben Johnson to have a vision for his team. And I really think this is a big deal because no one is going to be safe on this roster. Prior to us starting today's podcast, I brought up names like DeAndre Swift. And I know a lot of people are like, well, Keith, we just signed the guy. Well, I'm just saying he's not married to any player. I know that Ben Johnson wants to upgrade and improve that position group. So don't be surprised. Guys like DeAndre Swift, maybe he looks at guys like Tremaine Edmonds. I don't know. I think anything can happen. The idea of him not being married to his current roster is that he may not see them in his current vision. So what do you make of that before we kind of start breaking down the offseason for the Bears?
Good for him. I think he came in and he has a vision of what he wants his team to look like, and he made it be known. And I think that's the biggest thing as a head coach is constructing your team in the way that you want it, because you don't want to go into a season with some doubts about, a certain position and not address it. So being able to go in there and be a leader and speak your mind, whether it's going to hurt some feelings or not, is a great look. Like we talked about before the running backs, I like Swift. I think he's a good back, but maybe he's not a good fit in this offense. So, if he needs to find, if that's what he needs to do, so be it. But I think we all can agree, us and fans, that the first need of the team is to go and look for offensive linemen and multiple. So we'll see. I'll be curious to see how this plays out. And maybe, you don't know, maybe Ben Johnson sees something in these offensive linemen that we didn't see during the season. So, you never know. Yeah. So.
Right. And I think it has a lot to do with coaching as well, developing these guys.
Absolutely.
And I think that's going to be his next big hire on the coaching staff, is finding a good offensive line coach that can develop. I brought up names like Mike Munchak. I know Dan Rochar is out there as well. He's currently the offensive line coach for Temple, but he has massive experience with the Saints, building some pretty good offensive lines over there. So those are a couple of names that you can really consider, but I think offensive line coach is going to be a huge hire for him as well. Talking about, how you say, hey, the Bears need to address the offensive line in the offseason. There's someone in the back saying, Ashton Jeanty, Boise State, right? And I'm like, hey, I would be fine with that as long as you build the offensive line in free agency. I think he's a pretty good player. I'm not sure. I asked someone this question, and we'll get into it. Do we view Ashton Jeanty as a generational talent coming out of Boise State, like how you viewed Saquon Barkley coming out of college?
He's good. He's really good. I mean, it's hard to say, man. I can't really, I'm never good at like picking generational talents out of college, because it's such a different game, especially the running back position. You never know what you're going to get. If you would have asked me when I was 15 years old and I was still in high school and in 2005 watching Reggie Bush come out of USC, I would have said he was a generational talent. And in probably today's game, he would have been. But, it's just, there's so many variables to put into that. So me personally, I can never guess if he is or not.
Yeah, for sure. So what we're going to do, because this is going to be a crazy offseason. I know there's a lot of Bears fans pumped up now that we have Ben Johnson and he's putting together his coaching staff. Of course, we have Caleb Williams. It just seems like things are looking, on the come up for the Chicago Bears. Once again, they still got to prove it on the field. But I think there's a lot of positives for the last couple of weeks for the Chicago Bears organization. So what we're going to do is I'm going to just basically go through certain situations like cuts and all that stuff and free agency and mock drafts. And all I want you to do is say yay or nay. Give me the reasons why we should do it, why we shouldn't. And you can even throw some players here and there and how you see fit. So we're going to put in our GM hats right now. And as always, Bears fans, you can interact with us down below in the comment section. And I know you guys really enjoy these. So we're going to start off with some cuts. Should the Bears cut Gerald Everett, save $4.5 million in cap space? The Bears will start with $67 million. No,
I actually like him. I would like him to keep.
You want to keep Gerald?
I want to keep Gerald. Yeah, I do.
Okay, a lot of Bears fans would disagree with you, but I think now that we have Ben Johnson, it may change some things.
That's exactly that's my point. I don't think he was used well. So
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're gonna decide to keep Gerald Everett, not save that $4.5 million, just banking that he can be really effective in this new offense.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's new because most Bears fans are quick to say, "Hey, let's just get rid of him, save the $4.5 million, and maybe invest in something else." But I do get your point. So we're gonna keep Gerald Everett on today's episode of Keek on the Mic. Should we cut guard Ryan Bates? We would say $4 million in cap space. I know he had some injury issues last year. That was like one of the bigger acquisitions on the offensive line for Ryan Poles over his last 3 years, but you're saying cut him.
Yeah, and this goes against everything that as a former player that I like doing. I hate calling for people's jobs, man, because I've been in that room too many times. So
Yeah.
This is all hypothetical, man. So if anybody's watching this, please don't take it the wrong way.
Don't hate on us for doing it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I think, like we said before, just the O-line needs to be reconstructed.
Yeah, for sure. So you're basically saying, hey, no one's safe on this offensive line, probably besides maybe Darnell Wright and Braxton Jones, possibly. Right.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Sounds good. So we're gonna go ahead and cut Ryan Bates. That'll put us up to like $71 million in cap space. How about defensive end Dominique Robinson? You would save $1 million.
No, I'd keep him. I think he showed enough to stay on for $1 million. I think that's not much. It's not making a dent into the cap space. So keep him around. Be good to keep him around for camp and see if he can compete. I mean, you never know who you can bring in. So yeah.
Okay. Interesting. So how about safety Jonathan Owens? You would save $1.6 million in cap space.
That one, that's a middle one for me. I think because he's more of a special teams guy. He's not going to come in and start for you. So depends on how they view his value on special teams. For me personally, I didn't see enough on special teams for me to warrant keeping him. But I mean, he did come in and do well when he had to come in at safety. So I mean, he's a good reserve safety as well. So I'm gonna say keep him.
Yeah, I think you say keep him because I think you just realized that Simone Biles is his wife.
Exactly.
We want her on our side, right? The gold medalist, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's a champion. She's a champion, man. That'll rub off on the
right.
team.
Exactly. I would hope so. And just for the fun of it, should the Bears cut Kevin Byard and save I think it was around $5 to $6 million? I say no.
No, not this year. I don't know. It's hard for me to say because I'm not too familiar with the guys coming out of the draft this year. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
College football, I've lost my love for college football ever since the NIL, man. So I've lost my touch with players. But you don't cut a guy like that, man. He's a quarterback of the defense, and he still has some good ball in him, man. I know he's a little older, but he still has some good ball left in him.
Yeah, so obviously, there's some other guys that Bears fans could put in the chat that they may consider cutting. Those are just some initial names that kind of come to mind. Besides Kevin Byard, I really do like him. He had a really good year. I think he had 130 tackles, which I guess is not great playing the safety position when your tackles are kind of high. But still, he was a valuable piece to the Chicago Bears defense. I think he'll be a valuable piece to Dennis Allen's defense here in Chicago as well. So let's go ahead and go to free agency. We only made one cut, so we're at around $71 million. So still a lot of money to spend. The Bears are currently sitting at 4th in cap space right now. You have teams ahead of you like the Patriots, the Commanders. The Patriots have about $125 million. So there's going to be competition for some of the guys that we want in free agency. So first and foremost, addressing the offensive line, Isaiah, should the Bears go out and sign guard Trey Smith to around 4 years, $80 million deal?
Yes.
And why is it just because it's important to address the offensive line, or is there a certain reason why you like Trey Smith?
It's just important to address the offensive line more than anything. I think you got to get some guys that have been established and show some success. More than anything, you can't leave our guy Caleb hanging like he did this year. I think he needs to be invested in, whether that's in his pockets or not. That's putting that wall in front of him is the most important thing. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so once again, Bears fans, we talked about Trey Smith a little bit. Only 25 years old, about to turn 26, 6'6", 322 pounds. Obviously, Ryan Poles played an instrumental part in drafting Smith back in 2021, dating back to his Kansas City Chiefs days. And a lot of people didn't know this, and I didn't even know this until about a couple weeks ago. Him and Darnell Wright played 2 years together at Tennessee.
I didn't know either.
So being able to recreate that, I think would be cool. Once again, New England has the same needs as us. They're trying to protect their rookie quarterback. They have a whole lot of money. I could see us losing out to New England just for the fact that, hey, Trey Smith is going for his third championship in a row at Kansas City. At that point, he's probably looking for the most money. So I could see us being outbid, but at the same time, hopefully that connection that Ryan Poles has with Trey Smith weighs more than the more money he can get in New England. I hope that's the case. So
yeah, I know. I mean, who would you rather block for, Caleb Williams or Drake May? At the end of the day, that's how I'm looking at it. So
Yeah.
We'll see.
And I think also having Ben Johnson and how he uses his offensive line will intrigue a guy like Trey Smith as well.
Absolutely.
So now moving on, addressing the interior offensive line once again, we're looking at center Drew Dahlman. He's the center from the Atlanta Falcons. We're looking at a 3-year, $37 million contract. So that's about $12.3 million per year. We do have Coleman Shelton. Would that be a move that you're interested in?
Not too familiar with him, so I don't want to, say anything off kiltered. I do think, the center play this year could be improved. I think that whole interior offensive line could be improved, quite honestly. So, if in your opinion, is he better than what we had this year?
I kind of have to give Coleman Shelton a little bit of credit. I know Bears fans are going to kind of hate me for this, but I do feel like he played pretty good down the stretch. Like, I think he had a rough start, but I think he played better down the stretch. Do I still think that position could be improved? Absolutely, 100%. But Coleman Shelton is cheaper. But for the first time in Ryan Poles' tenure as GM, he can't be cheap with the offensive line. He has to make some big swings, and I do think Drew Dahlman would be a upgrade over a guy like Coleman Shelton. I think you are spending more, but he's 26 years old, 6'3", 300 pounds, really good in the run game. He's improved tremendously in pass protection as well. Once again, I go back to how good he is in the run game. Since 2021, he finished with the best run blocking grades in 2022 and 2023. He's considered one of the best centers in the game right now.
So, in my opinion about the center position, I think if you have an adequate center that's cheaper, and the center is one of those positions where it's protected, right? You have guys on each side of you, and he's kind of a second quarterback on the field. If he's able to get that done, that part of it done,
right?
I think you spend more of your money on the tackles. First, you start with the tackles. Tackles is always more important.
Yeah.
Then you move into the guards. Least important person on the line, and I'm not disrespecting the least amount of money you want to spend on the offensive line is the center position. So
absolutely,
yeah, I would, if you said he did well this year, I would have to say no.
Yeah, and I think once again, take that with a grain of salt. Coleman Shelton was not good. Like, once again, we don't really like looking at PFF grades, but he had like a 66 overall PFF grade, and I know we give or take with PFF, but we've seen Coleman Shelton how bad he has been at times this year. But I do think that if the Bears don't want to address it in free agency, there's some guys in the draft as well that they can possibly look at. Obviously, you take a risk by drafting a guy because then you have to develop that guy. But at the same time, Drew Dahlman maybe he's not a guaranteed thing as well, and you have to give that guy $12 million. So I think there's pros and cons to both sides. But I think a lot of Bears fans would say go get Drew Dahlman and really get that interior straightened away, because I think that's where the Bears have struggled the most.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
We'll see, but I do agree with the people saying that just you have Coleman Shelton, he's cheaper, but most Bears fans will say get rid of Coleman Shelton or at least have him as a backup and go upgrade that position. Rather you go through the draft or free agency, but you really don't I don't think they want to put a rookie out there at center. Personally.
No, yeah, that's tough, man. That's a lot of checks. So
yeah. Right. So now we're gonna have some fun with this. The Bears need to win in the trenches as well. How do you like a reunion with Khalil Mack, bringing him back for maybe a 1-2 year deal, finishing his career here in Chicago?
It depends how much he costs. I think Khalil's old, man. He's been in the game for a minute. I think
old man's balling though.
Yeah, he's doing good, but it would all depend on how much he's asking for. I would say that. I mean, obviously, if you can get a good deal for him, you don't pass up on a he's a generational guy, right? He's not what he used to be right now at this career, but he's a generational talent. So if you can get him at a good price, yeah, absolutely bring him in. But if he's asking for what I think he's probably going to be asking for, no.
Right. Yeah, there's also guys like Josh Sweat, the edge rusher from the Philadelphia Eagles. A lot of people have been bringing up Chase Young, whether you love him or hate him. Obviously he has that connection with Montez Sweat, dating back to their Commander days. Maybe you bring him in, and so he can join this defensive line. I do expect the Bears to go edge rusher in either free agency or the draft or both. I think it's obvious that they need someone on the other side of Montez Sweat.
Absolutely.
It's clear blank. So I think they will invest. But once again, I think there's a lot of Bears fans that wouldn't be opposed to Khalil Mack. Once again, it's not a long-term solution. We look at a guy like Josh Sweat. He's only 26 years old. Chase Young, I believe he's only 24, 25, maybe 26 years old. So he's still young. So there's definitely better options in terms of, longevity for the future of the Bears. But I get why people would love to bring Khalil back too. I think it would be a cool story.
Absolutely. I mean, the great teams have at least 3 good DNs. So they're able to rotate. They're in a perfect world. You would like to. I like Josh Sweat a lot. I think that'll be a fantastic pickup. But even Khalil in his where he's at in his career, man, it'd be a good pickup just to have him for. I'm sure he wouldn't mind doing this in passing situations. So we'll see.
So my question for you is that, we've kind of addressed the interior offensive line. We looked at edge rusher. Do you think the Chicago Bears should invest in running back or wide receiver in free agency? Or do you think they should probably focus on that possibly in the NFL draft? Because I know that Ben Johnson, when you're looking at, his time in Detroit, his offense is built on speed. And I understand they're gonna, he's gonna build this thing from the studs. But I still think he would love to have some more speed. So do you think the Bears should invest some money or draft capital in a running back or a wide receiver?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's going to happen, and obviously he's not a pop's top guy, but Keenan Allen, we don't know if he's coming back or not.
Right.
He was a security blanket for Caleb. But yeah, I agree. They need they need a little bit more speed. Rome Odunze can run a little bit. DJ is obviously more of a possession guy, get the ball, yak guy. But if they can get somebody that legit can just pop the top consistently, I think that'd be a good look for them, especially with Caleb's arm strength. As far as the running back position, I like Swift. I think he's a good back. But it never hurts to have another one that can, he obviously likes too what he did in Detroit with Sonic and Knuckles. So, if you can find one in the draft, you get them. I think that's a good look because running backs translate to the league pretty easily. Right. But so I would go that route there as a running back would go the draft route.
Okay, and I could definitely see, because you already have DeAndre Swift. I think they're looking for more like a workhorse type of back.
Sure.
Some names that come to mind if you're looking in free agency is Najee Harris. Love him or hate him. I know a lot of people kind of gave me crap for bringing him up, but I still brought him up because I feel like he is that workhorse type of back. Not flashy, but 4 straight seasons of 1,000 rushing yards. I guess pretty decent in the passing game as well. I think that would be last resort. I can see them going to the NFL draft as well in terms of Cam Scatteraboo, Arizona State. He's an intriguing name. But you also have Roschon Johnson as well. I think you would be fine with that 1-2 punch. And then people keep forgetting about Ian Wheeler as well. He tore his ACL in the preseason. He has blazing speed as well. I hope he's doing good in his recovery, but you can give him a chance as well. And then in terms of receiver, I think someone said about Hollywood Brown being a free agent, maybe taking a look at him because of his speed. Isaiah Bond out of Texas, if you're looking towards the NFL draft, he has some pretty good speed. You can go many different routes. So let's go ahead and just really quick and talk about the NFL draft. Bears have 4 picks in the first 3 rounds. And if Ian Cunningham lands the job in Jacksonville, they will have an extra 3rd round pick, not only this year, but next year as well. So that would give them 5 picks in the first 3 rounds, which would be massive for Ryan Poles to really build this roster. So picks 10, 39, 41, 72. I'm going to go ahead and go through each pick and just give you some options that, players that can be there. You choose one. And then I guess I can give an explanation of why I would imagine that you would choose that as a GM. So pick number 10, we have Will Campbell, tackle out of LSU. We have Kelvin Banks, the tackle out of Texas. We have Aston Genty, obviously the running back out of Boise State. And then I'm just going to throw in, maybe he drops to us, defensive lineman Mason Graham out of Michigan. And just for the fun of it, I don't think he's going to be there, Abdul Carter, the edge rusher from Penn State.
I would go Abdul Carter if he's there.
If he's there.
But
Yeah.
but I agree with you. I don't think he'll make it to 10.
Yeah. So what's your backup option? I shouldn't even put him in there, honestly, because I think that's unrealistic of me.
It'd be one of those offensive linemen that you mentioned, probably Will Campbell. I think you invest in that. You can make the argument that Genty might not be there. I think he'll go a little early because running backs are starting to go back to the old ways when they get drafted a little earlier. But it all depends on what they do in free agency too, man. Like if you get your lineman that you want and Genty's sitting there.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Isaiah saying, hey, if you get your offensive line squared away in free agency,
man, I mean, why not? You know what I mean? Like
Swift, Genty, and Roshan sounds kind of nice, and Ben Johnson.
Yeah, you know, why not? So if he's there and you already got what you wanted, like, you know, obviously we know what the point of emphasis is, but you know, I'm a Genty fan, man. I like the way he runs, and yeah, you know
who they said his pro comparison is though? Jahmyr Gibbs,
Genty.
Yes, that I don't really see it, but I think because he's bigger than Gibbs.
Yeah, he don't run like him either, man. He's more of a,
he runs more powerful than.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know who came up with that comparison.
probably what's his name? Mel Kiper? Is that?
They have been, man. Yeah,
I don't know what that guy's talking about half the time.
Yeah, that sounds like a Kiper take, man. That's terrible.
Yeah, I started cracking up. I was like, "There's no way this guy is going to be Jahmyr Gibbs." No, they're two different type of backs. He's a workhorse type of back. Like if the guy's looking for a workhorse, him and Swift would be a good complement for each other. I will say
absolutely.
That.
Yeah,
absolutely. And that's not trying to disrespect Roshan Johnson, but that would be a good compliment.
It would be. Him and Swift would be a different version of Sonic and Knuckles. Obviously, a little bit more. Swift ain't no Sonic, so but yeah, exactly. You know what I'm talking about.
Okay, so Isaiah said, hey, if we address some needs in free agency, hey, take a swing on Ashton Genty. So let's go ahead and go with the 2 second-round picks here with picks number 39, 41. I absolutely love that they're back-to-back. Ryan Poles can do so many different things with these. Pair them up. If you really like someone, trade up back into the first round. I don't think he's going to do that. You can trade down on one of those picks and get more thirds or four. It's going to be interesting to see what he actually does. But edge rusher, Jack Sawyer. We can go maybe a defensive lineman and Alfred Collins out of Texas. We can go guard Tyler Booker out of Alabama. And let's say you do take Ashton Genty in round 1. You're probably going to go either edge rusher or offensive lineman here.
Mm-hmm. So I like Jack. I like Jack Sawyer. I think he's a ball.
I do too.
He has a motor, man. I love his motor. So, he's the one guy I've watched, and I'm like, okay, I can see this dude being really successful in the NFL. He might be a steal in the second round. So if he's there, man, you take him.
Okay, so Jack Sawyer in round 2. So in the second round pick, we'll do the same thing. Guard Tyler Booker, because you still have to address the offensive line there. Yeah. Maybe Gray Zabel, the tackle out of North Dakota State, will be there. Obviously he's, turning heads in Senior Bowl practice already. So out of those two, because I'm going to say we probably need to address the offensive line here with a second round pick. So out of a guard or tackle, which one are you taking?
So I'm picking off a position based right now. I don't really know much of either of these players. So out of a guard and a tackle right now, I'm going with a guard as a rookie. Okay. I seen the first hand. We've all seen it firsthand with Kyle Long when we drafted a guard in the first round, obviously the second round. But he did a really good job his rookie year. I think it's easier to translate from college to play guard than this tackle, man. Tackle's tough. Tackles are hard. It's like playing corner. You're on an island going against grown men who know every which way moves. It's just tough, man. So if he's there, I'm doing that.
I like it. I love it. I think right now when you're looking at your picks, let's just say hypothetically, your dream offseason would be, build through the trenches, build your offensive line in free agency, get Genty in round 1, get Jack Sawyer, your edge rusher, in round 2, and then Tyler Booker, your guard, with your second round pick.
Mm-hmm. That's a great
I don't think
draft.
you could be mad at it, Bears fans. You can clown Isaiah all you want, but hey, we're not going to tolerate it today on Keek on the Mic. I think that's a fine looking draft. I don't even want to do round 3 because those first 3 picks would be home runs. And honestly, you can look at Will Campbell and Kevin Banks, but people are concerned that Will Campbell and Kevin Banks will be guards in the National Football League. They won't even be tackles. So. Okay. Some people may be upset that we're not investing in offensive line early, but at the same time, if you do land Trey Smith, if you do land Drew Dahlman, and I think Braxton Jones is a good tackle at times. Mm-hmm. I think he, under Ben Johnson's leadership, him being offensive mind, I think he actually fits what Ben Johnson does as an offensive-minded head coach. Obviously, Darnell Wright would improve because he would have Trey Smith by him. And then your new starting offensive line would probably look something like this. You would have Braxton Jones at left tackle. You can put in Tyler Booker at left guard, even though I think he has more experience at right guard, but put him at left guard. Drew Dahlman at center, Trey Smith at right guard, and Darnell Wright at right tackle. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either, man. And you brought up a really good point earlier about the coaching, man. Coaching can take your game from here to here. I promise you. Right. I've been around it firsthand. When I can speak on this. When I played with the coach with John Hoke, who just left Chicago, playing for him compared to playing anybody else was like night and day. That dude can make you a fantastic player by just all up here. And
I'm telling you,
it's doable. So yeah, like if they get a great offensive line coach, man, with that offensive line, I think they're going to be successful.
And if they're worried about Tyler Booker being a rookie and starting from day one, go out and sign Kevin Zittler for a year, a guard. Even though he has experience at right guard, he's more of a pro that he could probably play both positions. And he just played under Ben Johnson for the Detroit Lions just this past year. Yeah. He's a pretty good guard himself, right? And the thing I like about the guards that I think the Bears or offensive linemen they're going to target, especially when you're looking at Trey Smith, is that he's durable. The guy has never missed a game. That's what the Chicago Bears really need to be focusing on, not only for the offensive line, but their whole football team, guys that are available, because that's been a huge issue for the Bears offensive line.
Yep, I agree.
So, Isaiah, hey, I can't complain about your little mini mock offseason today on Keek on the Mic. Hopefully people agree with you. People are going to give you shit for Genty for sure. I'm going to be straight up honest with you. I'm more open-minded to the idea of Genty, really. Because I think if you have a good, strong offensive line, and I think we kind of built one here today, I think Kevin Swift would go crazy with Caleb Williams.
Yeah, it's hard to do a mock draft when you don't know what we're getting in free agency. I think that's exactly. Once that happens, the needs that a team needs, and exactly how you can attack it in the draft. We're just hoping and praying in a perfect world that all this stuff falls through. So we'll see.
Yep. Bears fans, we're just two chill guys talking Bears football. I always tell people before I do my mock off seasons, don't take me seriously. This is probably not going to happen. This is all for fun, but people are going to be like, really, Genty? Yo, wow, you guys are dumb. So, all right, calm down, guys. But
I let it be known from the beginning. I don't know enough college players to even talk about anybody else. So it is what it is. But
Isaiah's got to be commenting, throwing me under the bus. Like, hey, I was just following Keek's lead here. I don't know what. Hey, I don't watch college football, so you know what I mean. So,
oh man.
Isaiah, once again, thank you so much for coming on. Once again, we'll do this from time to time, not every week, but I definitely would love to have you come on, do more mock drafts with me. So you need to start watching more college tape. Get into.
Man, I promise you, I used to love watching college ball, man, and then it just took my joy away. This whole just NIL and transferring, I can't keep up with it. Oh man, I'm losing my love for it, man. I got to figure out how to love it again because my son's coming up, and I got to figure it out for him. So we'll see.
Because your son's gonna play. He's gonna play. He's gonna make it. Yeah.
Oh, well, we'll see, man. You got to stay the course. Just work hard.
Hey, Bears fans, I want to make something clear that if Isaiah's son does play college football, he will be a target for the Bears. If you've ever seen this, if you've seen this kid's tape, it's insane. It's insane. I'm impressed. I'm like, this is crazy right now. Every time Isaiah posts something, I'm just like, wow. It's impressive, really. It is.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Hey, you don't have to take no credit though.
Hey, I ain't do nothing. Yeah, that's all. It's not me. Trust me, he's way better than I was.
I love it. But Isaiah, as always, it's always a pleasure to have you on to talk Bears football. But Bears fans, go ahead and give Isaiah Fry's mock offseason. We did it pretty fast, but give his mock offseason a grade from A to F. Be kind to him because, I did kind of assist him in this process, especially to the NFL draft. Didn't, just gave him some options that I like personally. But I think he definitely nailed it. I would give you a solid B+ for sure.
I appreciate it, man. I had a 3.5 in college, man. Just throwing it out there for y'all to kind of keep it consistent. So,
what is that supposed to mean? You're saying you're a smart guy. Hey, don't get it twisted.
3.5, man. Yeah.
3.5.
Graduate with honors.
Scholar athlete. I love it.
Yeah.
But Bears fans, as always, make sure you guys continue to hit that subscribe button and the notification to catch all Bears content right here on the podcast. Make sure you guys follow me on all my social media platforms. Make sure you guys share this episode of Kick on the Mic with every single Bears fan you know. And once again, make sure you guys head over to betus.com and use promo code YouTube150 for 150% deposit bonus up to $2,000 and also get 125% second and third deposits as well. But other than that, be back for our all new Bears podcast right here on Kick on the Mic. Thanks, guys. And as always, bear down.
You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic. You can go and subscribe cause I be on it right. You ain't bout it, you ain't bout it, you ain't kick on the mic.